Hello everyone, welcome back to English class. Today we are going to start one beautiful chapter and the chapter name is The Happy Prince. So it is written by Oscar Wilde. So let me give you a small introduction about this chapter before reading this chapter line by line. As this story suggests us, this story is all about the prince. And how was the prince? The prince was very happy. And that is why, this chapter name is what? The Happy Prince. Actually, the prince was very happy. Why the prince was very happy? Because he was the prince and the sorrow and the misery was not allowed to enter in his palace. He used to live in his palace, in his royal house. He never seen ugliness, misery and the poverty in his palace, and that is why he thought everyone is very much happy, and that is why he led his entire life very happily. But later on, after his death, he was hanged on a high pillar above the city by his courtiers, and he was decorated with precious stones and gold. Alright, but after his death, the prince was not happy at all, because you know very well, before his death, the prince was very much happy, and that is why his courtiers used to call him the Happy Prince. Now, he was not happy at all. Why he was not happy at all? Because standing high above the city, the prince could see all the poverty, misery and ugliness of the city. The ugliness and the poverty that he never felt when he was alive, and now he was able to see all the misery because he was hanged at very high place on a high pillar, and that is why he was not happy at all. Moreover, he could not do anything for the needy and the poor. So what happened one day? Then arrived a little bird, a little swallow. And very soon, the bird and the prince became very good friends. And that is why, with the help of this new friend, the new bird, the happy prince began to help the poor and the needy. But in the end, they both met with a tragic end. That means the end was not good at all. Was the end really tragic? So we will understand this story. So was the end? What was the end of this story? That means we can say that at the end or the end of the story was not good at all. It had not a happy ending. What happened? Both made a tragic end. So we will understand through this story, was the end really tragic or not? Alright, so let's start reading this chapter line by line. Paragraph number first. Let's start reading this chapter. High above the city on a tall column stood the statue of Happy Prince. He was gilded all over with thin leaves of fine gold for eyes. He had two bright sapphire and a large red ruby glowed on his sword hilt. So difficult word given over here is what? Statue. Statue means what? Idol. And the sword hilt. Sword hilt means what? Top of the sword. This is what? The sword. Okay. And this is the topmost part of this sword. So it was decorated with one very precious stone, and the precious stone was what? Red ruby. So you can say that the body of the prince was decorated with gold and precious jewels, that is ruby, sapphire. We have also diamond. So diamond, very well, it is very costly. Similarly, these stones are very much costly. So his entire, that means the prince's entire statue was decorated with this kind of precious stone and the gold leaves, a thin plate of gold. One night there flew over the city a little swallow. His friends had gone away to Egypt 6 weeks before, but he had stayed behind. Then he decided to go to Egypt too. So one day, what happens? One night, there flew over the city a little bird, and the bird's friends already had gone away to Egypt, and the bird left behind, and that is why now the bird decided to go to Egypt to meet his friends, and that is why all day long he flew. The bird flew the long day, and at night time he arrived at the city. So after flying the entire day, finally the bird arrived at the city. Where shall I put up? He said. I hope the town has made preparation, because the city was very much, beautiful. It was decorated with beautiful light. All right. So the bird found the city very much good, and that is why the bird said that it seems that the town has made preparation for me. Then he saw the statue on the tall column, and finally, after reaching the city, the bird saw the statue of the happy prince, and then he saw the statue on a tall column. I will put up there, he cried. It is a fine position with plenty of fresh air. So he alighted just below the feet of the happy prince. So here the difficult word is what? Alighted. Alighted means what? Flew down. So finally, after reaching the city, the bird saw the beautiful statue of the happy prince. And that is why the bird decided to take rest, to spend the night under the feet of this beautiful happy prince. Moreover, the bird found that he will be able to get very fresh air because of its high position, because the statue was hanged on a high pillar. I have a golden bedroom, he said softly to himself as he looked around and he prepared to go to sleep. But just as he saw putting his head under his wings, a large drop of water fell on him. What a curious thing, he cried. There is not a single cloud in the sky. The stars are quite clear and bright, and yet it is raining. Then another drop fell. What is the use of this statue if it cannot keep the rain off? He said, I must look for a good chimney pot, and he determined to fly away. But before he had opened his wings, a third drop fell, and he looked up and saw. What did he see? The eyes of the happy prince were filled with tears, and tears were running down his golden cheeks. His face was so beautiful in the moonlight, that the little swallow was filled with pity. You know what happens? So when the bird decided to spend the entire night under the feet of the statue of the happy prince, so the bird decided to live there. The bird was about to sleep, and suddenly, when the bird was about to sleep, suddenly one big water droplet fell on him. All right. So the bird started looking into the sky. Why? And after looking the sky, the bird saw the sky was very much clear. All right. So the bird said to himself that there is not a single cloud in the sky, The stars are quite clear and the bright, and yet it is raining. Because you know what happens before the rain. At first, there you can see the dark cloud, and after that, when the cloud becomes very much heavy because of the droplets, heavy droplets, and that is why it could not hold that big droplets, and that is why it starts coming down to the earth in the form of what? Droplets, and that we call rain. Here, the bird found that the sky was very much clear and the sky was full of stars. So he was shocked. The bird was shocked that how it is possible. If the sky is very much clear, then from where how it could rain? So when he was thinking about this, another drop again fell on him. Then he just said to the statue, what kind of statue? What is the importance of this beautiful statue? If the statue is unable to hold the water droplets coming from the sky. Actually, the bird thought that it is raining and the statue is unable to hold the falling water droplets. And another droplets again fell on him. But this third time, when the third time water droplets fell on him, on the bird saw something amazing. What was that? The bird saw that it was not the rain, it was not the water droplets which was coming from the sky, but actually it was the tears which was coming from the prince eyes. He saw that the bird saw that the happy prince's eyes were filled with the tears, and that is why the tears were coming or running down to his golden cheeks, and that is why it fell on him. But the swallow was very much shocked, and his face was so beautiful in the moonlight, because it was moonlight. So the face of the prince was shining. Moreover, he was made up of gold, and the statue was not a normal statue. It was decorated with very precious stones and it was shining. And because of these things, the prince was looking so beautiful in this moonlight. Who are you? He said. I am the happy prince. Why are you weeping then? Asked the swallow. You have quite drenched me. Drenched, difficult word is here. So drenched means what? Made wet. When when you take bath, where? When you enjoy the rainy season. Alright, when you go out, when it is raining outside, so your clothes became what? Wet. So here it is what? Drenched means what? Made wet. Alright. Made wet. Opposite of wet means what? Dry. When I was alive and had a human heart, answered the statue, I did not know what tears were, for I lived in the palace. Palace means what? Royal residence. Where sorrow is not allowed to enter, my courtiers called me the happy prince. And happy indeed I was. So I lived and so I died. And now that I am dead, they have set me up here so high that I can see the ugliness and all the misery of my city. And though my heart is made of lead, yet I cannot choose but weep. What? Is he not solid gold? Said the swallow to himself. He was too polite to make any personal remark. So finally, what happens? When the bird saw the prince was crying, after seeing what the so much misery. So the bird was shocked why the prince is crying, and that is why at first the bird asked about him, "Who are you?" So the bird says that he was a happy prince. He said to the bird that I am the happy prince. And then after the bird asked the second question, if you are the happy prince, then why are you crying? You should be happy at all. Then he started explaining why he is not happy this time. He said to the bird that when I was alive, that means before my death, I had a human heart, answered the statue. I did not know what tears were, because he used to live in a palace, and in the palace, in the royal residence, everyone was very much happy. And the prince was also very much happily leading his life. He never ever seen the misery and the poverty all around in the city, because he used to live in the palace. So it seemed to the prince that everyone is very much happy. He found every person very much happy, and that is why he felt that there is no any misery, and that is why he couldn't understand the tears all around him in his city only, in his city also. So that is why he is saying that now after my death I was hanged on a high pillar from where I can see so many misery and the poverty, and that is why I am not happy at all. Why? Because the prince was a kind-hearted person, and this time he was only a statue. He had not a human heart, so he could not help, because he was statue. He could not move, and that is why the prince is saying that I am crying to see the misery and the poverty spreaded in the city that I never realized when I was alive. Far away, continued the statue in a low musical voice. The statue was continued in explaining. Far away in a little street, there is a poor house. So further, the happy prince is telling to the bird that far away in the street I can see one lady. One of the window is open, and through it I can see a woman seated on at a table. Her face is thin and worn, and she has coarse red hands all pricked by the needle, for she is seamstress. She is embroidering flowers on a satin gown for the loveliest of the queen's maids of honor to wear the next court ball. So finally, the prince is saying to the bird that in a street he could see there is one lady. She is preparing actually one gown of the queen's maid of honor, because in royal residence there was a program, there was a dance program, and that is why the lady tailor was given an order to make the beautiful gown, and that is why she was preparing that beautiful gown. And because of her work only, her hands were pricked with the needle. So in this way, her palm were not looking good at all. So what happens? In a bed in the corner of the room, her little boy is lying ill. He has fever and asking his mother to give him orange. His mother had nothing to give him but river water. So he is crying, "Swallow, swallow, little swallow, will you not bring her the ruby? Out of my sword hilt, my feet are fastened." Fastened means what? Fastened means tied. Alright. To his pedestal. Pedestal means what? Dice or the column. and I cannot move. So the prince is saying to the bird that there is one lady who is very much needy. She is a lady tailor and she is very much busy in preparing the gown of the royal palace, and moreover her son was not you know uh, in good health. Like her son was suffering from high fever, and because of his fever the boy was asking, requesting his mother again and again to give some orange. But his mother was very much poor. She had not a single orange at her house, and that is why she was unable to offer anything to her son, and that is why she was giving again and again water. She had only water to give her son, and that is why the prince found it is very much difficult. The prince found not good at all, and the prince thought that he must help that needy lady, and that is why he just made a request to the bird. He made a request to the bird to bring out the ruby from his sword hilt, and that is why the prince made a request to the bird that please bring out the ruby, red ruby from my sword, and give it to the lady. She will just sell it into the market, and definitely in return she will get so much money, and that is why she will be able to purchase so many things, and she will be able to take care of her son. I am waited for in Egypt, said the swallow. So what the bird said to the happy prince. So the bird said to the happy prince that I cannot stay here. I'm sorry, I can't do this work for you because I have to fly to Egypt because my friends are enjoying their my friends are enjoying and talking to the large lotus flower over there, and soon they will go to sleep. So let me go. I wanna meet my friends. The bird said to the prince. The prince asked the swallow to stay with him for one night and be his messenger. The boy is so thirsty and the mother so sad, he said. So further, when the bird said to him that the bird wants to go to meet his friends, then the happy prince made again request to the swallow. He requested the swallow just to stay with him for only a single night. And he just requested. Further, the bird said to the happy prince that the boy is very much needy because he is so thirsty, and mother is very much helpless. She had nothing to offer. She had nothing to offer anything to her son, and that is why the prince made a request. I don't think I like boys, answered the swallow. I want to go to Egypt. But the bird was not ready to listen. So what happened? The bird replied that he did not like the boys, and I don't want to stay here. I want to go to Egypt. But the happy prince looked so sad that the little swallow was sorry. It is very cold here, he said, but he agreed to stay with him for one night and be his messenger. So finally, the bird became ready to help the happy prince. He became ready to be his messenger only for a single night. All right. Thank you, little swallow, said the prince. Now the prince was little happy. He felt little relaxed. The swallow picked out the great ruby from the prince's sword and flew away with it in his beak over the roof of the town. He passed by the cathedral tower. Cathedral means what? Church. Cathedral means what? Church. Where the white marble angel were sculptured, and we will continue this in next class. Okay, thank you. This was the first part.